everybody. We are back. I'm back with Kelly Smith, and we're going to do part 2 because you just can't do a 30-minute talk with a 4 and get to the depth of everything. No.
So much going on in here.
And then we turned the mic off and just kept talking. Sorry. But I'm going to read this because a couple months ago, actually, I think I put something on Instagram about, so what do you love about your number? And I'm going to read this directly, her quote, because I don't want to mess it up, because I was like, yes, that's why we need our 4s. We need everybody, but let me just read what she wrote. So her answer was, when in response to what do you love, she said, so much. I love the gift of intuition that comes with being able to read emotions and scenarios, knowing what's BS and what's pure, seeing where people are experiencing grief or hardship, and knowing how to support them. I love not wanting to follow the paved path, even though it's a lot harder this way.
Lord.
I love embracing the pause when everyone else is speeding through the moment, because that moment is sacred, and I can appreciate what others pass off as inconvenient. Oh, see, there's just so much to love, she said, but there's also so much to work through. Mm-hmm. But man, I'm telling you, that one sentence that you were able to see the sacred in the pause. I had the privilege of being at a weekend retreat that Kelly led with our good friend Felicia, who just moved to New Mexico this week. But Kelly shared a story that I just want to sit back and let her read, because let me tell you, when we are zooming through life, and I did a podcast not too long ago about those of us that are future thinking, right? And we could talk about that, but maybe that's for another day. But when those of us who are in warp speed so much are just headed to the next thing, we can pass by the most beautiful things. That's why I am loving the practice of learning to be in the present, not even having to take a picture of everything that happens, just be with my grandkids, be in the moment. But at this retreat that we were at, Kelly read this story that I am going to give you the privilege of just sitting back, grab your latte, and let her read this to you.
Yeah, and it might mean nothing to you, which is totally fine. I'm okay with it, but it meant something to me. And when I wrote this, it was not a story. It was I was at a silent retreat, and it was my first one. And it was a day when I finally decided that I was going to resist all of the wiggles, and I would actually be silent and not go on my phone and check what's happening outside the world. Like, finally just went in.
So hard.
It is really difficult to do. But while everyone was walking or meditating or praying, whatever they were doing, I was sitting in this communal space, and where there were beautiful oak trees just around this hemisphere kind of a window. And I was just watching the squirrels, which...
when you can't talk, I mean...
I just need some action. I just need to watch some squirrels.
Squirrel!
Exactly. But and to what you just said, Danae, about you live so in the future, 4s live very much in the past. Like, everything we do is based in reference to a past memory or to a past experience. So what the silent retreat did for me was bring me from my past into the present. And in this particular moment when I wrote in my journal, that's where I was, and it taught me the most beautiful thing. And so I'll just read this to you.
Take it away.
Take what you will of it. It's called The Squirrel and the Nut. This morning, I watched from the rec room as a squirrel scurried up an oak tree to a thick, sturdy branch. He faced me as he pulled out an acorn or nut of some sort. He began eating the nut, and I thought, oh, I bet you're glad winter is over. Now you don't have to hoard all of them or preserve the bites. You can blissfully enjoy the abundance of them because it's now spring, finally. He continued, I continued to watch. Then the Spirit spoke to me about seeds. Look at that squirrel enjoying his seed, his nut. He is delighting in it, and you're delighting in watching him. I am delighting in watching you observe him. Then I thought about what I've been taught about seeds. I've always been told that seeds are planted to grow. Seeds are for vegetables. Seeds are for thought. Seeds for our spirit. We're told to plant seeds, or if we don't see a prayer come to fruition, we say to ourselves, at least you planted a seed, God will grow it. But as I watched the squirrel enjoy his nut, I was so grateful that the nut, the seed, hadn't grown. The nut was in a beautiful function. It was providing nourishment and fulfillment for this squirrel, for his creation. Had it entered the soil, sprouted, and broke ground, it would have taken a different journey, assumed a completely different function. It could have done so much more. It could have grown into a large oak tree to provide shade for a grieving soul. It could have been a home for numerous wildlife. It could have provided seasons worth of nuts for generations of squirrels to come. But it didn't. It stayed a nut. Is it good that it stayed a nut? Is it bad? Disappointing? No. It was what it was. It was a nut. It was serving a function in sustaining God's creation by simply not being pressured to become something more than it was. That squirrel appreciated the nut for what it was, and so did I. It got its glory. It humbly served a very valuable purpose. I began to think about all the seeds I felt responsible for planting, so that they could become more, transform. I thought about all the seeds people tried to plant in me, reviewing some that stayed seeds and the others that flourished into some really beautiful gifts and blessings. I reflected on knowing that some things have been planted in me that I will not see the totality of until I pass away. Maybe some soon before. Maybe others not at all. Some seeds I don't even know are planted in me and may sprout suddenly in the surprise of a new spring. I cannot expect a seed to grow. I cannot put that responsibility, that pressure on a thing. I have to reflect on letting a seed be a seed. Even as a seed, it can be the perfect nourishment for creation, for the ones He has given me. For what if it was always intended to be just that? So what if a seed never gets planted? Is it left behind? Wasted? Worthless? Or is it simply just taking a different journey than the other ones that have been planted? We want good things to last forever. We want to take as much as we can from the things we think are good. Don't steal away the mystery of what something should or shouldn't become. A stressed seed surely doesn't flourish. Don't stow away a thing thinking you are doing a benefit for it. Allow it to be used, taken, consumed, given, freely given. If that nut had found a perfect place in the soil to then grow into something more, can you guarantee that it will turn into a tree? Are you sure? Are you certain that all of the elements needed to provide the ultimate place for that nut to flourish would happen? Of course you can't. If you think you can, you have not accepted the nut to be simply as it is. You haven't experienced the fullness of gratitude of its current state because you haven't shared it. We must not preserve a thing that we expect will grow later. We can predict it to grow by law of nature, but we can't guarantee that growth, the fullness of its potential, is its destiny. Let the nut be a nut. So funny.
I just absolutely love that. And man, when we put that pressure on our kids, on ourselves, and it's that the expectation of something being other than it is. I think when I put on myself the expectation of being anything other than I am, sometimes I wish I was a 3 on the Enneagram because they really get stuff done. I want to get stuff done, but that's not that's not always how it works out for me. And then you get an email or a note from somebody that you hear something that just was, something you said, something you didn't intentionally think you were planting with the expectation of it becoming, a best-selling novel. But somebody says, thank you, what you said helped me in this. And this happened not too long ago, and I was like, what? What did I say? Mm-hmm. Let it be what it's going to be.
Right.
And I think that's what you in particular, because not all, it's like we were saying, no 2 7s look alike, no 2 4s.
Ooh.
I think that's the problem a lot of times with the Enneagram is people saying, do not put me in a box.
There are 9 boxes.
You
fit into that one.
That's right. And as if the 9 boxes themselves are the sum total of who they are.
Right, exactly.
We are every number on the Enneagram. We just have a default setting that manifests in our personality, I believe. But what was I saying about your uniqueness? that no 2 4s look alike.
Yeah. We're all different. I've never seen 2 4s look alike. So sometimes, actually, in the beginning, I'm like, are you sure I'm a 4? Because I do not walk around sad all the time. I mean, I think a lot. I'm in my head a lot. I'm in my feelings a lot. And that's how I know the 4 is my home.
Yeah.
But I certainly have not felt this, like, I walk around like, oh, it's dark outside today. In the Eeyore picture.
Right.
I certainly don't identify with that.
Oh,
but
man.
There is a teacher.
Guilty of saying that. Oh, Eeyore.
Oh, my goodness.
Well, because sometimes all of us...
Wah, wah. Thanks for ruining the party. It's like, no, I'm not at all. I don't feel like I do that. But I feel like a lot of times we get grouped in this thing. I was going to say, there's a teacher that said 4s love being sad. And when I heard that, I got so pissed. Like, literally pissed. Because I really respect and regard this teacher. And I was like, you don't even know me. And you have not even asked the question. And maybe that's why I'm a 4, because I don't feel seen and known right now.
Yes.
You know me. But I don't love being sad. I mean, I absolutely don't. I don't love feeling depressed or when I get into a lull or a rut. I don't like being there. I am there,
right.
And I don't mind staying there until it's over. But it's not like, oh yes, I finally hit the mark. I can be sad for a week and stay in bed and cop out of my life. Do you know what I mean?
That's what I would say. And I was going to ask you this next, but you've addressed it. What is the misconception?
Yes, it's that. It's that if you're a 4, then you must be sad. You must have had a really traumatic life. And you're probably going to be isolated and moody and mopey. And I do not know a person on the planet that I've known in all of my years to not have had experienced mopiness, moodiness, isolation once. And there is even, I think this is true, you can verify it on your own time, but I think I even heard the highest suicide rate is among 7s.
I know. And do you know that we're the most prone to addiction?
Yes. No, I thought it was 8. Or is it
no, 7s.
Oh, okay.
And that blows my mind.
But it does make sense. It does make sense.
Well, it does.
If you're, pushing pain, just avoiding it a little
exactly. I know.
Not processing it, then you can succumb to this thing.
I say it blows my mind because it seems so opposite of what everybody assumes a 7 is like. Their life is just full of
perfect.
And again, it's that joy and happiness. Those are 2 different things. That's other thing. But that their life is filled with happy moments. Yeah. That they have this wonderful ability to reframe everything and not ever have a bad mood. Well, it's not true. We're not happy 24/7, and in fact, that is a burden. Mm-hmm. That when you are in a different place, if you are allowing yourself to feel some emotions, it freaks everybody else out. Yeah. It's like, oh, where'd she go? Where'd she go?
At the 4, and we're like,
oh, come to me.
I'm your friend now. Because you didn't want to be my friend before because I had feelings.
Because it scared me. It's true. That's it.
Absolutely.
It is scary, or it has been.
Mm-hmm.
I love to hear your honesty that if we can be objective about these things, that they're not going to not just kill us, they're actually going to strengthen us. One of the things that I think is the gift of you in particular, because I can't say all 4s. I never look at you and think, you really need to be wearing a necklace that says victim. So we all know. And I think that's a bad stereotype.
Yeah.
Sometimes that can be an attribute, but it can be an attribute of anybody who's had a rough patch. I don't know what to say, but somebody who actually has suffered trauma or been an actual victim.
I absolutely have. In every way, I have been a victim.
Yes.
And sometimes I still like behaving like I'm a victim. But again, I use the word behave because the reality is that I'm not a victim anymore. The only thing I'm a victim to is my perception of the past.
That's it.
And that's where I can get stuck if I allow myself to. But if I can look in the present and take the moment for what it's giving me now, I'm not a victim right now. In the past I was, but I've grown stronger and I learned and I evolved and I can empower from that trauma. I don't see myself as a victim now. It's just a piece of my story.
Oh, wow. Absolutely. A piece of our story. And that's why no two look alike, is because no two of any of us have the same story.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And so it's our ability to step outside of our personality, our default settings, and say, what is mine right here in front of me? And that's the thing that, so those of you that are in the triad that processes from the past is different than saying you live in the past.
Right.
I think that is a misconception around people who hear just a little bit of it and have the Enneagram and don't understand the depth of that, is that it's how you process what's going on right now, right? Mm-hmm. And that's what you said that briefly, but I think that's a big thing to differentiate between living in the past and processing in the past.
Like I said earlier, it's like I'm my reference point. Like the way that I move forward is by referencing the past.
Right.
And that's not healthy. Like I need to reference the present in order to think about the future. Does that make sense? Like my orientation needs to be here now. Not then, not over there. It needs to be in this moment now. My habit is to look at the past and say, for example, say someone yelled at me, okay? And it's a year later and I'm with that person again. I can a year later be like, oh yeah, you're the person who yelled at me. I don't like you.
I wouldn't be speaking to that person anymore. At least you're trying.
You're done.
You're done. You're dead to me.
Cut off. But no, I can revisit that person in the present and not reference a year ago. Because if I approach them in the present based on who they were to me in the past, then I am cutting them at the knees, saying, you surely haven't grown. You surely haven't evolved. Like I can't expect anything from you because you are mean to me.
So you've changed, but they haven't.
Right.
So you bring the old story with you into this.
So yes, I try to leave that story where it was in the past.
Right. I'm saying you could.
Yeah.
And you're saying process in the present.
Process in the present.
But isn't that?
But again, it's the practice of doing that. For us to evolve into health, we have to practice.
Yeah.
That's, if anything I've learned, it's that. If I want to, the thing about the 4 is that we get, and maybe even any number, we get coined and grouped based on the unhealthy aspects.
Oh, I know.
And that's just irresponsible.
Yes, that's the point of this. Why I started this podcast in the beginning was I heard almost online in the certain groups that we get in, people tend to, like you say, almost caricature of who we are based on what is an unhealthy aspect. That's why if we can take time to say, I love this about who I am. I can absolutely spend my time saying what I see as my weakness. I know what they are. And now I'm trying to take that information and put it into the present moment, just like you said, process in the present. Not constantly look to what the future might hold. But the aspects of being a 7 that I love can fit beautifully into all of this process without having to say, oh, but you know who I am. I can't help this because that's just how I am. I'm going to be late. I'm going to be scattered. I'm going to be any of the caricatures. That's, the memes are funny, but they're getting old.
We have to raise the standard and of our perspective of the Enneagram and say, instead of it being an identifying tool, it's like, no, this thing is used for growth. So let's start raising the standard of like, here's how you could grow.
Right.
Let's talk about the growth instead of here's what you are. It's important to know where you are to get somewhere, right? Like
a starting point. You are here.
Exactly. But you're not going to be there forever because we're human beings and we grow and we learn. And I think it's a healthier way to approach it is to say, hey, whenever we're talking about the Enneagram, let's talk about how you're growing.
Prof, I love that. And that's from a 4. No.
I just want to say another thing real fast. Like the beautiful thing about being a 4, to which is why I wrote that squirrel on the nut thing, is I can pretty much find a beautiful scenario in most things that I see. And there's a show on Netflix called Bird Box. Have you seen this?
No, I've heard of it.
Y'all, there have been so many funny memes about this, but
Sandra Bullock, right?
Yes, Sandra Bullock, the blindfold.
Yeah.
Okay, so it was a creepy kind of a show.
Which is why I couldn't watch it.
Yeah. But I had such a spiritual awakening.
Oh my goodness.
Watching some show about Sandra Bullock with blindfold trying to run from this evil spirit, intangible spirit thing, right? And spirit demon, rather. And a few nights later, my husband and I, we were like, oh, let's just go sit down at the piano and write a song.
As one would do, just go sit and write a song.
It's not that frequent because it's 3 kids, but I just Ben started playing this thing, and he started singing about a river. Let your river lead me. And then I go to a sanctuary. And then it zoomed me straight back to Bird Box. So we call it our Bird Box song.
Oh.
And the chorus is, let your river lead me to a sanctuary, to a place where I belong. And the whole thing about Bird Box is, so spoiler alert, is the journey of this woman being consumed by these things that have been forced upon her, the traumas, the pain, the quick decisions that she has to make, for survival, all of these things. She has to, the only way that she can survive this is to jump into the river. And she doesn't know what's at the end, but she was told that there was some kind of sanctuary, like literally a bird sanctuary. And so she gets in the river, and the whole show is the journey, right? And I found such deep spiritual value in that, because that's exactly what I feel like I've done. I've had to jump into this wild, raging river, blindfolded, have no idea where it's going to lead me to. And I am going to trust that the universe, that the divine being has me. That this divine being is for me. And then she gets to the sanctuary, and so many beautiful things happen there, but it's just full of birds. And anyway, this
Okay, now I want to watch it.
And the song is going to come out in this fall, this winter or fall. But that's my Bird Box song because it's my personal spiritual journey song of hope and promise, and that the journey is going to be a lot of things. It's going to have some calm spots. It's going to have some rapids, but at the end of it, I know that I'm being led into promise.
Oh my gosh, I cannot wait to hear it. I didn't know you.
Yeah.
You're just now springing that on me.
Well, I'll play it for you once this thing's done.
Oh, well, I'm sorry. We're not going to share that right now. We'll hear it when it comes out. And is this a Red and Wine song?
Yes, it is.
Red and Wine song? Yes.
Yes, it is.
Great. Okay, we are going to wrap this one up. Kelly, I have just pulled all the strings of your heart, and because I need it. I need your depth. It's a safety. It's something that you've shown and continue to show those that get to know you, that this is a safe place. Your heart is a safe place, that really you are a guide. You are such a guide, and I need you in my life.
I'm here.
And I just thank you so much thank you for taking me around on the golf cart. Because we had fun. We had fun.
I love to have fun. Talk about that
she does have, yes.
Like, I'm a counter type, I think. So,
right.
Which means I can go 1 or 7, and I love having fun. Energy is important to me, and that's another thing about the 4. It's like, we don't like to sit at home and be sad all the time. We like to have fun.
I know you do. I've been with you enough times. And we had fun, and she made me cry, and I mean, what better day could it have been?
Full circle.
I love you. Thank you all for joining us, and we will see you next time. In the meantime, I hope you get to know the joy of who you are by loving your number. Bye.